Welcome to the speaker series on a shot glass of recovery.
Yeah. You get a house, you get a car, then you start thinking that's all you are, but you don't know the truth. So let me spell it out for you. Now I got your attention, now there's a start. Now sit and listen to my favorite part. Life's been giving us some clues. The answer lies inside of your.
Welcome to the speaker series on a shot glass of recovery. Hi, I'm your host, Lisa M. Thanks for joining me again.
And speaking of those I learned from my sponsor, Lisa M, is speaking tonight. And because of the program, I learned once I was sick and tired of being surrendered, did not sponsorship. And the first person at St. Clement's, we had people stand up. So the first person that stood up, he said they sponsor. I had to choose. He said, and the big book. And it was Lisa. Well, we're different. It's Lisa. I like Ben. She was good. I showed her she did. Very different. Lisa told me what I didn't want to hear. I could sell ice to an Eskimo and she wouldn't have it. She taught me that I was entitled. She actually asked me if I wanted to for Christmas. I actually think it was probably on my list. So anyway, she taught me how to grow up. She taught me a new way of living. She found my soul that had such a God-sized hole in it. And she's the most incredible sponsor. And I think we have about 14 sponsees. She started her podcast. She speaks all over the world. And I just can't believe it. It's a divine intervention, divine appointment. So I'm so proud of you. Thank you for loving me and speaking tonight. Love you, thank you all together. Study.
Get a piece of me. Get a piece of me. It sounds like the old days. The bar days. Hi, everybody. My name's Lisa. And I am a grateful alcoholic. I used to be a hateful alcoholic. Today, I'm a grateful alcoholic. Nicole, I have a quote for you. Don't know who this guy is. His name's Blake Crouch. And I'm cheating today because there's this little app. It's called Leap Ahead. So I don't have to read books like my friend Sarah, who reads voraciously. I just listen to Leap Ahead and it gives me like a synopsis of a book. And then, I'm a busy person. So I don't have a lot of time. So this quote comes from Blake Crouch, and the book is Dark Matter. Every choice you make creates a new reality. Welcome to a new reality. The other one I wanted to read today was, what if you could have a different life? Aren't we lucky? We get to have a different life. And the last one, I just got chills. The life you want is just one decision away. One decision away. So remember that and don't give up and hang on. And whenever you feel like taking a drink, reach in your pocket and grab that coin and rub it. I have coins that you can't read them anymore because I rub them so hard, It's like, I'm thinking about a drink, rub, 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 rub. And then I would remember when, right? Remember where a drink used to take me. Nowhere good. As Sarah said, I'm a lesbian. Drinking took me to some dark places. Sometimes I even made out with men. Boom, boom. The 80s and the 90s and the early 2000s. They say you'd go to any lengths, right? If you're willing to go to any lengths. How long are we talking? This long? This long? I would go to any lengths for a drink. So it was great when my sponsor, the guy who's my sponsor still today, asked me that question when I was being defiant. Are you willing to go to any lengths? All jokes aside, I had to be willing to do, as Sarah said, to hear the things I didn't want to hear. And then to do the things that I really didn't want to do. And I'm grateful for the life that I have in AA. I've had a bit of a challenging week. I have been This shouldn't be funny. I've been surrounded by alcoholism and addicts and people who are still struggling. Like that's every day, right? We're alcoholics, we're addicts, we're surrounded by these people every day. But this week alone, I've seen some really tragic things. I see a woman who I see week after week after week, and she started with alcohol, and when alcohol wasn't enough, she went on to crack, and she lost everything. And when she lost everything, the drugs needed to get harder. And then she lost her kids, and now she's lost her mind. And I see her everywhere, and she's begging on the street for money, and God knows what else she's doing on the street for money. And I think that's the reality that I could have had, right? One choice away from a different reality. Another lady, she had a battle with alcoholism, and she thought she beat it, and she went on, she got a university education. She became a lawyer. And she turned around and she went back and helped alcoholics like her who had been in trouble. And then she picked up a drink and she got a DUI. And she lost things. She lost her career. She lost her freedom. And then she turned to harder things. And she's still out there. And she hasn't come back. Another lady that I used to know, I sponsored for a brief time. And it was hard. Sponsoring is hard. Sometimes it's joyful, you know? Sometimes it's successful. And that has nothing to do with me. That was a lesson I had to learn in AA too. When people drink, it's not my fault. When people get sober, it's not my success. I didn't do that. I just carried a message like the message was carried to me. Gosh, I've learned so much in Alcoholics Anonymous. But those are the somber things. Those are the sad things. And that's why I like to try to crack a joke every now and again, because life can be difficult. And for me, that's why I drank. I think it was genetically designed that I was going to be an alcoholic, that was what would happen to me once I picked up that drink. And I picked up that drink early. I picked up that drink in high school, and everything changed. It was like magic. I like to think, because that makes people, I think, stay away from me and not hurt me, that I'm tough on the outside. You know, I got this look. I'm tough. Stay away from me. I will mess you up. But that's because on the inside, I'm soft and squishy, and I'm easily hurt. Like Sarah said, my thoughts and feelings are what's wrong with me. They really are. She gets that from her grand sponsor, who said it to me probably every time we talked. Because I'd start with a sad story about what was going on in my life, you know, my really big problems, usually revolving around relationships or work. Those are the two speeds I ran on. And he would say, Lisa, your thoughts and feelings are what's wrong with you. And I can't really help you with those right now, so we're just going to put them on the shelf, and we're going to read this book. And that's what we did. And that changed things. You know, the last time I came in and I stayed. And before that, the choice that I was about to make was Googling, how do you make a noose out of an extension cord? Alcoholics, here's some 20 questions. You want to know if you're an alcoholic? What are the last 10 things you Googled? How about that? How about that? That might be good for the 20 questions list. So I went from that, right, thinking that is a good option. There's another sign that I may be an alcoholic or a person struggling with addiction. When I start to think that the good way out, the only viable option, is to take myself out of the equation. And I don't think there's many people in here who haven't had that thought. And you all look like a bunch of pretty happy people to me today, right? Thank God we're here, because before that, things were getting pretty dark. So yeah, I discovered alcohol in high school because I also discovered that I was gay in high school, and that meant death in the 80s. I rushed right back into that closet and nailed it shut from the inside and pretended to be someone I wasn't. And you know what helps with pretending? Getting good and lit. Getting good and tight. That's what helps with that. Helps with the acting, helps with the feelings you don't want to feel, helps with being able to do things you don't really want to do. And it helped me to not care. But the problem is I'm an alcoholic, and that triggered the allergy. And man, did it trigger it like that right away. I was a full-blown blackout drinker. But I didn't think that I was an alcoholic. I was 16. I was 16 and a blackout drunk. And I only got drunk on the weekends because there were parties. And then I only got drunk Friday and Saturday night. And then I only got drunk Thursdays and Friday and Saturday. And then I was really hungover on Sunday. So somehow I'd need to sneak away and get a drink to hair the dog, cure the hangover. And I was a full-blown alcoholic at a very young age. For me, that was a very young age. So I'm not like I'm 16 and I'm going to the bar. I'm finding ways to get alcohol. And I'm not drinking during third period or anything like that. But definitely it consumed my life. It consumed my weekends and it consumed my thoughts. And I remember by the time I hit grade 12, I was like really excited. I had been drinking in a bar underage with a fake ID, and the guy offered me a job as a waitress. Well, now I could drink legally, quote unquote, quotations, and I could get my friends in. So that was like instant status right there. Yeah. I lived in Streetsville in Mississauga. So there was like 2 pubs on the main street. But don't screw it up because you're going to get kicked out of one of them. You only have one other choice left. But yeah, that was my life. My life revolved around alcohol, and alcohol took the pain away. And the pain revolved around wanting to be different. I needed to hide who I really was. And so I was lying. My whole life was a lie. I didn't get along with my family. My mother and I really had a difficult relationship for most of my life. I think that my mother had some undiagnosed issues. And so I've done a lot of work on that with her. Well, not with her. She's not here anymore, but I've done a lot of work on that around her. And I got to a point where my sponsor would say, just try to be the best daughter that you can be and stop expecting her to be the best mother that she could have been. Stop expecting her to be the mother that you deserved, because you do deserve a good mother. You do deserve to be loved. And it took me to hear that from someone else to realize that. I also usually mention a little bit about, I gotta check the time. I usually mention that when I was little, I had some childhood trauma. And the only reason that I mention childhood trauma is because anyone who has it, I want them to know, don't use that as an excuse to get sober. Don't use that as an excuse to be part of the poor me pity party club. That's a crappy party for one, and nobody wants to join you, really. You'll find out that who your friends are, that you don't have any friends if all you do is whine and complain. And that was my life, I would dance out the trauma so that hopes that other people would feel sorry for me too. But eventually it stopped working, right? It just got sad and pathetic and boring and on repeat. So I think the reason why this is important to talk about the childhood trauma is so that you don't let it stand in the way of a beautiful, wonderful opportunity, which is sobriety and a good life. I remember when I first got sober, it was so hard because all I could think about was, what am I going to do? what am I going to do? I can't go to the beach. I can't go to a party. I can't go to church. I can't drive. Like the list, it was just dwindling. I can't do any of these things without alcohol. And what I realized was that I told myself a lot of lies. I thought that I needed alcohol to be able to be a part of life, but I wasn't really a part of anything. I disassociated. I isolated all the great ids. I did those things. I wasn't really showing up for life, and everything was about me. I had no idea that I was selfish and self-centered. Thank you, sponsor. That's what I learned. Selfish and self-centered. Self-seeking, self-pitying. I'm a liar. I cheat. Look at me. I'm still doing the cheat thing with the book app. I'm listening to books on tape. Yeah. But it's not all bad, right? I needed to uncover the darkness so that the light could get through. I needed to know what I was working with. You have to discover what your baseline is so that there's a place to go from. And I think that's my understanding of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm just so grateful today for everything that I have. I can't believe that I'm here some days. I remember when Sarah asked me to be her sponsor and she was making a beeline for me, and I was like, took a step back. I'm like, oh no, coming in hot. Here's a train wreck coming in hot. with her positivity. I think you and I would be best friends. No way. This little hippie lady dressed in pink, smelling of smoke and perfume. I was hard on her, man. And you know why I was hard on her? Because I was still angry. I was in Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm dry and I'm angry, and she's asking me for help. And now she's complaining about her life. Well, who's going to listen to me complain? Now I got to listen to her complain. I see how this works. And so, but it works. It really does. Because when I'm not focusing on my problems, because I'm listening to her, and then I'm giving her what my sponsor gave me, like just regurgitation, right? We're like baby birds. Spit it out into somebody else's mouth. Just giving her what was given to me. Your thoughts and feelings are what's wrong with you. We got to put those on the shelf. I'm done listening. You got 5 minutes. Go complain. And time. All right, now we're going to read. And we read a lot. We read the book together. And yeah, she did try to swindle me. She'd call me up and she'd be like, do you know what? My husband's name. You know what my husband did today? I'm like, nope, don't care. He's not my sponsee. You are. What's your part? Poor thing. Now we've got to a part where it's like, yeah, sometimes people are just assholes. What are you going to do? Let's work the program. We're not in control of other people, right? I used to drink over other people. I used to drink over circumstances. I used to drink over disappointment. My life did not turn out the way I had planned. Did yours? Did yours? I had a roadmap. The things changed. I drove that bus right off the cliff. If that was my life, I drove it right off the cliff. Yeah, I made choices. And the choice, was me. That was the choice that I made. I put myself in front of everything. I put my desires and my dreams in front of other people's. And I chose to drink even when I knew it was harming me. I chose to believe the lies that I was telling myself. Ever since I was a little kid, I just wanted to be loved. I came from a big family. I was the last of 5, and I just really wanted to be loved. And that desire to be liked and be loved got me into some sad and difficult situations and circumstances, and harm was caused. And I didn't get the help that I needed when I was younger. But in Alcoholics Anonymous, I learned that the help was there once I got sober, and then I still didn't take it. I still didn't get it. So then eventually it's recognizing that the help is there and then taking it and getting it. I have a therapist on retainer. Most people have lawyers on retainer. I have a therapist on retainer. That's because I have insurance today. Thank you. For a long time, I didn't have insurance. It was like, I am not paying her. So I just wouldn't go. But now I have a therapist and I have insurance, so I get to go. And sometimes I go and it's so great because I have nothing to talk about. I've already talked to my sponsor. I've already done a 10th and 11th on that. They're steps. If you're new, those are steps. 10 and 11, very important. Those are the ones that help me not be a dry a-hole in sobriety. Right? Learning how to deal with stuff. I'll give you like an everyday normal example. I have an opportunity at work to be in a different position somewhere else. And my boss is all magnanimous and like, sure, yeah, of course you can go for that interview and maybe you'll get it and I won't hold you back. And then lo and behold, I come back and I'm like, hey, they really want me over there. I'm going to go over there. And he's like, well, we'll see about that. And I don't know. And not on your timeline. And we're going to need to find a suitable replacement. And that could take till the end of summer. And I'm like, well, they want me in 2 weeks. So figure it out. No, that's not what I said. I just said, okay. No problem. And then I prayed. I talked to God. And you know what's cool? Is I don't talk to God and ask for a pony. Not that I'm putting you down for that, but I meant anymore. I don't talk to God and ask for things. I don't say, Dear God, could you please see that my boss gets run over by a bus and nobody knows that he doesn't want me to leave? Or could you please see that I get that job that I really want, that position, because I don't want to be here anymore? I just say, please help me with that. I got these feelings. I think it's anger. I got that. Could you take that from me, please? I got a little bit of bitterness. Oh, that's going to breed a resentment. Could you take that, please? I'll give you that. And the cool thing is I give it now to God. I didn't give it to God before because I never asked God to take it from me. I used to ask God to make things better. Oh, and you probably don't know what better is, God. So here's my list. I'm going to tell you, here's what it should look like. And I'd make my order. So no, I don't do that today because AA taught me not to do it that way. I didn't know. So yeah, I just let that go. I first came into the program in 2005 and I had the most annoying sponsor. God rest his soul. I love you, Roy. Roy used to say, let go and let God. What? Thank God you're not a therapist and I'm not paying for this because this advice sucks, Roy. Let go and that's all you got for me? I just poured out my heart and soul and I got let go and let God. Wow. What a difference 20 years makes, right? 20 years later, I'm like, oh, hello, Roy. I get it now. Thank you. Roy's one of my angels. I have a few angels. For a while there, I thought I was the Black Widow, and I thought maybe I shouldn't ask anybody else to sponsor me. I had Roy, and he passed away, and then I had Catherine, and her husband got cancer, and he had heard my fifth step, and I thought, damn, that was some pretty hard stuff. I killed him. So that was rough. But, Luke's a tough guy, and so he's hung on, and he's been my sponsor, except for one little hiccup. We had a hiccup about 3 years ago, I think it was. And I asked a lady at my online home group if she would be my sponsor. And I thought it was temporary. I thought it was permanent, but it was temporary. I went back to Luke. And the reason that I had asked this other lady to be my sponsor was because she was like mothering. And I didn't know what that was. It was like soft and and she was loving. I'm like, wow, that's what I was missing growing up. I'd like some of that. And Luke had said, I don't think you should go to those online groups anymore. You need to stop. COVID's over. Get your ass back to in-person meetings. And I was like, keep an open mind. Modem to modem. It says right in the big book. You taught me it comes from the big book. And I'm telling you. So we had a little fight. And so I dumped him as a sponsor. And I went and got Stacy. And she was mothering and kind and loving. And then I missed my old school guy. I missed my old school AA. I missed Luke, right? Luke was the person who I could count on to tell me the truth that I didn't want to hear. He was the guy who would point out things like, no, it's not your wife, it's you. I'm like, oh, just once can you not say it's my wife? Once he did. She gave away my puppy. She had a mental health issue. And then he said, oh, that one was your wife. But he didn't say that in the moment. He waited until like 2 years later and he's like, yeah, that was the one time it was your wife. So I got that one finally. But yeah, so we had this little spat and I broke up with him, but I missed that hardcore truth. I need someone. I'm an alcoholic. And I will, like Sarah, I try to work people around to my favor. I try to bring them over to my side. Team Lisa. Yeah, that person's wrong. Everybody over here, back me up. Right? I'm a dick. That's what that is. That's called ganging up on people, bullying people. Anyway, so we made up and it was a really cute conversation because I phoned him up and told him that I missed him. And I said, do you think this thing would work again, this sponsorship thing with us? And he said, it never stopped working. He said, and I will tell you, he said, and if you tell anyone this, and I love telling this story now every chance I get, if you tell anyone this, I'll deny it. I'll say it's not true, but perhaps I was wrong. And I'm like, you taught me that one. I know that one. Perhaps I'm wrong means you think that you're still right, but you're trying to be magnanimous about it. And he goes, no, really, perhaps I was wrong because during that time, it was one of my sickest times in sobriety. He was like 15 years sober and he was in a bad relationship where he was calling the cops on his girlfriend because things were getting so out of control. Right. And here he is giving me advice on I should stop going to those online meetings. He had not been to a meeting in 2 years during COVID because he was like, I'm not going to go to meetings because there's not meetings because the churches are closed. I'm like, you were so close to a drink. I remember the things that you taught me? Why aren't you listening? And that's when he said, perhaps you're right. You might have been right. But his thing was, and I get it today, right? Instead of getting upset, I can see other people's perspective. And his perspective was he felt that AA was dying. In-person meetings are suffering, right? We don't have the people that we used to have. So now I go to both. I go to in-person meetings and I go to my online home group. And it's wonderful. In the work that I do, it's shift work, and I was managing maybe a maximum of 4 meetings a month. And for this alcoholic, woo, that's white knuckling it. So then with AA online, with Zoom, and you gotta kick some tires, people. There's a lot of sick meetings out there. They play music and do all kinds of weird stuff. And like, you guys know what the book is? What book? It's called The 12 Steps, Alcoholics Anonymous. You might want to read it. You got to find the right group. And it saved me getting back online because I was with people who understood me again. And suddenly I went from 2 to 4 meetings a month to 14 a month, right? Because it allowed me that time. Like I said, I'm sometimes a busy person. So yeah, so don't shoot what saves you. It might not be the AA that we know, but if it's keeping people sober and it's introducing them to the book, then don't put it down. And if it's a good meeting, like mine is, we tell people, like this young lady, get yourself an in-person home group. So don't poo-poo on her that she has AA Solution Seekers as her other home. It's online. Don't worry. It's not like an affair. But now you have someone here who's going to show up and do service and set up chairs, right? And if she doesn't, I'll give you my number. I'm her grand sponsor, so you can tattle on her. Yeah, that's right. Just looking at my time here. I've been all over the place. Like I said, I had kind of a really bizarre week. I saw a lot of tragic things, and a lot of it was all alcohol related. People with alcoholism who didn't get the help that we've gotten. People who are still sick and suffering. And it is one of those terrible remember whens. And it's a terrible, that could have been a remember when for you, and it isn't. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful that Sarah and I are at the point after 10 years of sponsorship that we're friends today. We've become friends. And man, she worked hard for that. Are we friends yet? Nope. Nope. And I remember when we had like our first fight, right? It was because I tried to control her life. A sponsor doesn't control your life. I don't even remember. I think it was about outside behavior. Something that someone had said to me and I took it to her. Like I'm the boss of her. Like I'm her mom. And she got pissed. And I was like, you can't get pissed at me. I'm your sponsor. Rightfully so. And then I called my sponsor. See what was messed up there? I called my sponsor after. I didn't call my sponsor before and say, hey, someone came to me with something that Sarah's doing and I'm going to go talk to her about it. He would have said, pull your head out of your, don't do that. But I called him afterwards and then he said that. And he said, you owe her an amends. Wow. How many sponsors like to give a sponsee an amends? Nobody. Liar. No, but I did it. We did it in a cemetery. I thought that was a good place to do it, just in case, Wouldn't have to go far if one of us had to hide the body if it didn't go well. That was a beautiful, beautiful day. And something shifted in that moment. I don't know what it was. Maybe it's just seeing someone be humble, do something that they didn't want to do, and accept responsibility for their actions. And I think that's what sponsors do today, right? Like good sponsors lead by action and example, not by telling you what to do, not by controlling your life. And that's why we stick to the book. Because alone, and unfortunately, that is where the recording got cut off. However, somebody had told me that this meeting had a great impact on them. So I decided to put up half the talk, even though it wasn't finished. The bottom message is, and that's why we stay in the book. It's not a program of Lisa's Anonymous. It's not me giving advice. It's me sticking to the principles and the directions found in the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. I hope you got something from this. Thanks for listening. Just a quick reminder to subscribe, like, or follow if you like the show on any of your favorite listening platforms. If you like the speakers and other content on the podcast, please show us some love by leaving a review and consider making a PayPal contribution to help keep the show going at paypal.me/a shot glass of recovery. Every dollar makes a difference, and we thank you. Our speakers come from my AA home group, AA Solution Seekers. We meet every day at 7 a.m., so pop in sometime and say hello. Until next time, thanks for joining me on A Shot Glass of Recovery.
Everything you do, the answer lies inside you.